All right, to kick off episode 6 of the Breakout candidates. But before we do that, how's it going, Bainey? Back for another one?
Yeah, we're back again. Did you catch the quarterback series, the Netflix series? You watch any of that?
I just started it. I'm under, what, one episode under my belt right now.
Yeah,
It's
I'm two in. So
so I'm definitely gonna binge watch it here the rest of the way here. But it's kind of like a spin-off of the golf version they have, which is pretty cool. Little
yeah,
backstory.
maybe a little too much Mariota. I mean,
Yeah,
I think a little too much Mariota. Any amount of Mariota is too much Mariota. But
but when you're highlighting the Falcons, it's good. It's always good.
good to see the red and black.
But let's start it off here with the candidates we think is going to break out this 23 season. Uh, Go ahead. Let's start it off here.
Yeah, candidates we think are going to break out this year. Number five, Quentin Johnson, rookie receiver from the Chargers. I know he did not make my rookie list. However, love the news coming out of San Diego or Chargers or LA, wherever they're playing. Nobody knows. We're talking, he's already beaten out people. He's already secured Palmer's job. It's it's a no-brainer. I think once Mike Williams goes down with a back injury or his arthritis kicks in or his the knees it's insane. Herniated discs, muscle strains, the list goes on. Once he replaces Mike Williams, it's going to be incredible to watch. Kellen Moore is just going to throw the ball with that new offense. It's just going to be completely different than last year. I think 100 plus targets easily. Um, yeah, I mean ADP 79, wide receiver 42. I wouldn't be surprised if that increases before draft season starts. I don't really know if there's much else to say. I think once the injuries take over in that offense, Quentin Johnson to the moon. That's basically all I'm gonna say on that. I think we're just gonna sit there and wait, and then the rest is gonna take care of itself. How about you? What are we thinking?
But also, I do have Quentin as my number five as well. I'm on that same train. I left him out of my rookies as well. But just like you said, coming out of camp, he is beating Josh Palmer right off the rip. Uh, but let me talk to you about this Chargers offense first, okay? Last year, they passed 65% of the time, averaging 40 plus passes a game. And their receivers were ranked seventh amongst the NFL there. Uh, Keenan Allen is getting up there in age. Hopefully, his injury is a one time thing. Like you said, Mike Williams is always battling injury. So, with Johnston sliding into that number two role, he's going to get a lot of targets. Uh, some people for fantasy will they're going to say there's just too many mouths to feed in LA. But they don't know Herbert bought extra groceries this year, fellas, with him slinging the rock and Kellen Moore there as the new OC as well. So for me in fantasy, I'm screaming, go Chargers, go. All right.
Absolutely, man. And I mean, dude, Herbert played what tail end of that season with fractured rib cartilage. I mean, it was tough watching him be a shell of himself and still slinging that thing. I think this year they're going to be a lot of fun to watch.
So number four, what do you got cooking at number four here for us?
Number four, we talked about Mariota. We're going to talk about Kyle Pitts. I am all the way back in. I'm drafting him for a third year in a row. I'm all the way in on Kyle Pitts. If you keep up with our socials, you saw the graphic. The dude is number one in pretty much any positive statistic amongst tight ends. A dot, number one. Air share, number one. Number two in target share per route run. Number one in deep threats. The guy just gets it done. However, where they failed is all of the passing categories. I mean, of 60 or of 35 of his 60 targets last year were were the only ones catchable. Like that ranked 37th. 37. Like that's terrible. I honestly believe just a sheer uptick in volume makes him worlds more valuable. It doesn't even need to be super quality stuff. I mean, he makes magic out of nothing. I mean, he had 1,000 yard receiving season as a rookie. It's the stuff he can do is incredible. However, the quarterback's just got to give him the ball. And I mean, it's incredible how bad Mariota was. I mean, you're a Falcons fan. I don't need to make you relive it all. But like, he didn't throw the ball out of the teens in attempts throughout the entire season. I mean, when Ritter was in, they were throwing the ball in the 20s, a couple of times in the 30s in pass attempts. It's as simple as just up the volume. Just throw the ball to Kyle Pitts. Let Kyle Pitts do all the work. ADP 71, tight end 5. If he can stay on the field, if the knee's healthy, man, it's proven everything he does is historic. He just needs to be on the field and needs pass attempts. Give him the ball. Give him
Yeah,
the ball.
I I agree with you on that portion. Just watching some of those games and the struggles Mariota had, uh, it hurt. Not gonna lie, it hurt. Um, but Desmond Ritter, I'm not saying he's gonna be this great quarterback. He just has to be serviceable. If he's
Yeah.
serviceable as a QB, um, to sling this rock, you're going to see Pitts skyrocket. So if all these guys counting Pitts out already, I'm hearing it already, and the season even hasn't started for drafting yet. But if you guys drafted already, you guys are crazy as it is. But he might drop. He might drop an ADP with people being scared of the QB situation and the whole injury factor. But I'm glad he's dropping personally because I'll be more than happy to take him.
Oh
His
yeah.
rookie year just shows that uh, when he had Matt Ryan. So and Matt Ryan was getting up there in age, and he was a serviceable QB. I wouldn't even say serviceable, but somewhat that can actually get him the ball, which was nice to see.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying. I'm torn between the ADP stuff as well. I hope he plummets. I really do. I hope he falls later and you can grab him. But like, I think if we get some good news on that knee injury, we see him running around at camp. I think just seeing this guy run a couple routes is gonna make his ADP go up. Um, yeah, I mean, I love Kyle Pitts. End of the year, I was like, oh, never again, never doing that again. Then you start seeing all the stats, you start reading everything, you remember the rookie year, and then you kind of just, it's like that one girlfriend that you can't get over, that ex, and then you see a text, you see a Facebook post, and you're just like, hey, what's up, Kyle Pitts, What do you got for number 4 though?
Number four, um, I got George Pickens, aka NFL young boy, at number four. Wide receiver 40, overall 75. Finished wide receiver 40 last year. Right off the rip, he should have been 1,000 yard receiver last year. Just gonna get that out of the way. He just needs more looks from Pickett. That's literally the only thing holding him back. Um, don't believe me? Deontay Johnson had 147 targets last year. That's 63 more targets than Pickens. What did he do with, you ask? 882 yards and 0 touchdowns. That's Deontay Johnson last year. To Pickens' 84 targets, he had 800 yards as well with 4 TDs. So he even added a rushing TD as well. So I believe this guy can be a monster, but we're leaving it up to Kenny to find our guy more and often. So Kenny takes that next level. You best believe Pickens is going to take that next level as well.
So I think that Pickens is one of the most talented players in last couple of years at least. I think he's a freak athlete, freak catches. I
Yeah, these
mean,
catches he's making are ridiculous. The Cleveland game, I don't know if you recall that one. Basically,
oh yeah,
everybody just calls it the Odell catch now, but
yeah. No, the hardest thing to do is just like watch him and just be like, okay, now like do the easy stuff. Because like some of his like catches or some of his drops rather, it's just like routine stuff. But like then you watch him do a cartwheel one-handed catch on the sideline. It's just like it's incredible. And I hope he can put a full season together. I mean, you saw the little spat that he had, probably cost a lot of gamblers some money when he threw his helmet down the sideline. Tomlin benched him after like one offensive series. I don't think that they're going to put up with that after the whole AB and Le'Veon Bell stuff. So like, I
Of
hope he can
course
keep
not.
his head on, and I hope that he can produce. I do. I love watching him play. I really do.
Yeah, that it seems like that the Steelers don't take lightly for that stuff. They're usually quick to pull the leash back on stuff like that. Um, like you said with AB and Le'Veon and stuff like that.
Yeah. So number three. As much as it kills me, we're gonna stay in Pittsburgh, and I'm gonna talk about the guy that you're not too high on. I'm gonna talk about the guy I think is the wide receiver one there. I'm gonna talk about Deontay Johnson. Um, ADP 56, wide receiver 30. I think for this topic in a breakout candidates, I think he can do better than that. I think that when I sit down and look at wide receivers and really consider things, I consider the targets. The year after year targets more specifically, because that to me shows me where their place is in the offense and what their game plan for. And to me, Deontay Johnson is the target guy. I mean, he is the volume guy, and he's done it year after year. And I mean, like you said, 147 targets last year. It's two more than AJ Brown. The difference is what he did with it. Um, Talking about the sideline catches and all the stuff with Pickens, like Kenny's got to get the ball to these guys where it's catchable and use the center of the field. I mean, Deontay Johnson is a weapon if used properly. He's not the guy that's going to thread the needle on the sideline and do all these things. He's the guy that needs the volume in the center and just let him work. And yeah, the drops were up last year, but I don't think that that is a consistent thing. It's not like this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just he produces. The no touchdowns thing, it's tough. It's tough because you start weighing in like the egos and stuff of these players, and like you start like factoring in like Tomlin game plans and does all these things. Like Miles Sanders 2 years ago had no rushing touchdowns. What did the Eagles do in the first game? They game planned for it. They got it out of the way and just fed him a couple of touchdowns. The rest is history. And then why can't we do that in Pittsburgh? Why is that not going to be the same thing? Why
I'm gonna
would we
tell you why.
expect
I'm gonna
them to
cut
do
you
it?
off right there. I'm gonna tell you why. The OC. They didn't change OC, which they should have. I believe Matt Canada is still there, correct?
Yeah.
So there's your reason right there. They didn't change during the season when it mattered to win games, and they're not going to change, or he's not going to change his game plan for this upcoming season, who he is, and that's going to be a reflection of your fantasy teams, unfortunately. Um, but I hope he does see a change in it, and just look at the stats. I rather have a more productive guy, like you said, what he does with those targets, and George Pickens than your boy Deontay.
Well, I will say this. The one shining light I think that I've been hearing is we kind of have some clarity on what happened last year, and that is that I think Tomlin had more of a role in just keeping things very simple, limiting turnovers, and just being very bleak with it. And we saw some changes at the end of the year, and now I'm hearing that, players are kind of excited about what this offense looks like so far this offseason. Things are supposed to be different. Yeah, man. I mean, I really think that, I mean, you look at the last 4 years of targets for Deontay, it's 92 targets, 144 targets, 169, 147. You have to believe that the threshold is at a minimum 100, 110 targets. If he can do that Kenny gets it to him, more in the middle of the field, more catchable balls, you know, yeah, hopefully the A dot improves. Hopefully, we're throwing the ball a little further downfield. I mean, he's at 10 plus yards per reception in his career wide receiver. Just just give him a chance. Just give him a chance. I think he outperforms wide receiver 30 for the year. I really do. Um, but yeah, it lives and dies with Matt Canada and that offensive coordinator, man. I do not know. I haven't met a
Yeah,
Steelers fan that likes him. Haven't.
correct. And with the Steelers, even if Deontay Johnson's not that guy you think he's gonna be, it always seems like Pittsburgh finds their receivers in the draft anyway. And George Pickens is another example of that coming up. So he might be the next big thing there. And it's not bad to have Deontay Johnson as your wide receiver too. Um,
No,
not at
there's
all.
worse. There's worse targets for sure. What do
But
you got? What are
at
you cooking?
at number three, we kind of did a little reversal here, a little Freaky Friday on you guys here. Number three, I got the other side of Kyle Pitts. I got Drake London, wide receiver 23, overall 43. Last year, he finished 31 last year with 886 yards and four TDs. He didn't, in crucial moments, and this hurts to talk about still, Falcons fans, come on. He had fumbling issues last year in crucial moments, three fumbles. He needs to clean that up this year, but London last year with Ritter averaged about 9 targets and 83 yards a game. So in those 4 games Ritter started, if he has a full season with him, he should get upside of 150 targets you're looking at this season. And unlike last year when it was just him and Algier, they got wide receiver help. They drafted Bijan. Pitts is back. So it's going to take pressure off of people looking his way, which is nice. It's going to open up the field more. Uh, just going to give him the ability to play. So I think he's definitely going to be a breakout candidate because rookie QBs always go to someone they're comfortable with. He built that trust last year in those 4 games with Desmond Ritter.
So pretty much, I made the decision. I was gonna go Pitts or I was gonna go London, and I had a hunch you were gonna take London. So I went Pitts. Just for the sake of not being repetitive. I think the Falcons were number one in true catch rate last year. Um, with dealing with only like I think between Pitts, London, and I forget who the third option was. Had like 16 quality targets between the three of them to split up per game. Like, I mean, for having nothing to make out of something, I mean, these guys sure made something. I mean, London is a freak talent. I have no gripes with him being on this list. He should be on this list.
All right, who you got at number two here?
So, um, putting a little spice in the list. This is sheerly because of his ADP. I couldn't believe it. Samaje Perine, ADP 100, running back 33. How you feel about this list is solely based upon how you feel about Javante Williams. Me personally, I'm all the way asleep, 2 a.m. asleep on Javante Williams. People have begged me not to be out on him. I don't know why anybody would be in on him. Um, Before we get into that, the immediate running backs in front of Samaje Perine are AJ Dillon, Antonio Gibson, James Cook, and a whopping 15 spots of ADP above him is Isaiah Pacheco. Um, None of those guys have a secure, permanent, ideal, like we know what it's going to be role on those teams, except for Pacheco. I mean, but he's really not somebody that I'm going to take on any of my teams, to be honest with you. But Samaje Perine, I think is gonna end up being the RB1 in that offense. I think Javante's knee issue is a real issue. I don't think it's a oh he's gonna be ready, it's gonna be good to go. Like I think there's one thing that I will always hold, and that is don't trust running backs with knee injuries that there's like all this misconstrued noise around. The team says he's going to be ready. Haven't really heard he's going to be ready. He might be. I don't know. It's bad. It's not like a really good thing to hear, especially this close to the season. He missed so much time. You know, I and on top of that, I mean, he had a great rookie year. Other than that, he hasn't even been able to beat out Melvin Gordon for his starting job. I mean, their splits are almost identical. I mean, it's it's as simple as that, I think. I mean, I know he was primarily a third down back in Cincinnati, but weeks 11 through 13, he got to cover for Joe Mixon and he averaged 23.6 points per game in those weeks. He finished the year 14th in targets as a running back last year. And I mean, if you don't like any of that, you definitely like the fact that Sean Payton's the head coach. And the reason I say that is because all he did in New Orleans is run two running backs. And not only did he run them, he ran them well. I mean, he managed a tandem of Ingram and Kamara very well. And I just think Samaje Perine, with a struggling quarterback in Russ Wilson, I think that the dump offs are there. I think the easy targets are there, and I think that they're gonna try to run the ball as much as possible so we don't have to watch Russ cook. Please don't let Russ cook or make Subway commercials. And on top of all of that, the strength of schedule versus the running back for Denver is sixth easiest this year. Um, I'm not saying P. Ryan is going to be a huge smash or a home run, but at ADP 100, I mean that's in a 10-man league. That's first. I mean that's 10th round value. I'm taking Samaje P. Ryan in the 10th round if I get him. I don't know. How are you thinking? What
I
do you
just
what do you feel about that?
I don't like him at your number two spot. Um, at number two, you're telling me he's gonna have a breakout season. That's
I think he's going to crush ADP
he
100. I
he
think he's going to
he
crush running back
he
33.
he can crush his ADP, but he's not gonna have like who'd you have? You had Quentin Johnson in there and Kyle Pitts. I don't think he's gonna have those kind of years, whatsoever.
Well, my
If
value is the simple fact of you can get him later in the rounds. I mean, you're going to possibly take him when people are taking a defense or a kicker. I mean,
and
I'd take Samaje
and,
Perine.
and I feel like has Samaje been in the league a while now? I'm pretty sure he's up there.
Hey, but I mean, he's never been a bell back though, and he's never had all the damage and carries. Like, I mean, he fills in here and there for Mixon, and I think he's always excelled at the role he's been asked of. And
Yeah, but not everybody can be Batman. Some people are role players and got to be Robin, and that's Samaje Perine in my book. He's a good backup running back. I mean, give you a couple examples. Tevin Coleman, uh, who was a great backup for years for Atlanta, uh, goes on and gets that starting role. San Fran didn't really live up to that hype. Um, certain guys are just meant to be certain roles, and it's not a bad thing. It's just depth to that position, which is nice. Um, if you would have had him at number five, I could have rocked with it a little bit. At number two, that's kind of a big ask for me anyway. And I just don't see, even with, say, Javante missing a couple weeks, I will still take Javante over him any day of the week. Yes, his rookie season, he almost had 1,000 yards. Next, we're yes, you like you said, Melvin Gore did split time with him. He is a rookie. Next season, he did take that role, but unfortunately, he did get injured. And nowadays, with these knee surgeries, seems like all these guys are coming back. Saquon Barkley, um, he's holding out for a new contract because look what he did last year. He had a good year as well. So I'm not counting Javante Williams out yet until I can see when he fully comes back 100%. Then we can, I'd say, push the whole P Ryan train there.
I'm saying round 10. I don't know how you draft preferably, like, but say you already have two running backs rostered and you get Samaje Perine. I think you're doing all right. I really do. I think you're doing all right, and I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised come, especially towards middle end of the year. I think you're going to be riding that train, If not, you're definitely going to be trying to get him off the waiver wire.
Yeah, I believe he won't be on the waiver wire, especially on these 12-man leagues. 14, he's definitely going to be drafted in those. Very late in the 12th, 14, you're going to see him go. 10-man leagues, he's definitely going to be on the waiver wire. There's no doubt about it in my
Except,
mind.
except you'd rather have Isaiah Pacheco.
Then Perine?
Yeah,
Yes, I'll take Pacheco over Perine.
no thanks. Not in a PPR league,
Because
by the way.
I'll tell you right now in the run game in Broncos country, we're not riding. All right, but
What do you got? Let's move on.
my number two. Uh, he actually had a good season last year. Number two, I got Ramondre Stevenson. Okay,
Absolutely.
running back 9 last year, overall 26th. Or actually, that's what he's currently rated right now. Excuse me. He finished 7th last year. Uh, over 1,000 yards rushing, 5 TDs. Also, a decent chunk in the pass game as well. 69 catches, over 400 yards in a TD. Um, he was top 10 in touches last year. With Bill O'Brien back in New England, I believe Stevenson will be cooking on all cylinders. Also, Damian Harris is out of town now. He left for Buffalo, division rival. So no more hawking red zones TDs from our guy whatsoever, which is nice. And I believe Damian Harris had 123 touches last season as well. So those touches have to go somewhere. I believe Stevenson does have the ability to be a top 5 running back this year. Uh, with the strength of schedule, is not the greatest this year, but with Bill O'Brien and loving to run the ball as well. Um, did he? I believe he had Damian Pierce there for his rookie year, didn't he? Or did they get
If
rid
he
of
was
him
in
before
Houston,
that?
yeah.
Or did they get rid of him before
Um,
that? I can't remember.
I think O'Brien was in Alabama.
Yes. Okay. So that wasn't him, but Bill O'Brien does like to run the rock. Um, so I like this. I like Ramondre Stevenson. Depending on how Bill O'Brien uses him, I'm saying top 5.
I'm saying I was surprised to even see him on this list. Breakout candidates. I just, if you don't think that Ramondre Stevenson is going to be good, you probably just shouldn't even play fantasy football this year. Um, Simple as that. His ADP was never lower than it was going to be last year. Like, I mean, he was steals in drafts last year. This year, if he makes it out of the first, it's going to be crazy. I
You
think
have him
all
going in the
signs are
first
good.
round, huh?
Dude, I'm telling you, all signs are pointing towards he is going to be the bell cow back. I mean, there's nobody else in there worth making it a committee of. If you're in on Ty Montgomery, I mean, it just
I I don't see him going first round. Maybe early second round. I don't know about.
full PPR, a tail end, tail end. I'm not saying he's a top three pick or anything like that, but in like a 12-man league, full PPR, I think that, dude, I mean, you just made the point of all his touches and targets last year. It's no way it's going to decrease. It's going to, I think, Ramondre Stevenson to the moon.
I'm hoping so. I've been big on him for a couple years now. Just that Damian Harris being there, taking those touches away, kind of hindered him a little bit of his full potential. I believe you can.
Especially the red zone stuff. Damian Harris was their red zone guy.
Yeah, and man, his numbers. I think he would have been at that 1,300, 1,400 mark for yards
Yeah,
if
yeah.
he got that full load uh, last year. But I think he'll be a top 5 guy this year. Am I taking him in the first round? No. Um, early second, the middle second, yeah, I can see him going. His overall is 26, so that's early second round there.
I can see it. It just depends on where you value a running back, really. I mean, honestly, some you play with people that love their running backs. Me personally, I go usually two wide receiver first, second, back to back, and then figure it out from there. But I mean, Yeah, I mean, I don't think D Hop's going to New England, so I think that that's more targets that are going to go towards
Yeah,
Stevenson as well.
there
So
there's huge talks about him and Dalvin Cook. I was praying Dalvin Cook wasn't going to go there either. Um, just to let Ramondre have that season alone for his
I
production.
think every fan base that doesn't have a true RB1 has like tried to talk up the rumors that
Yeah,
Dalvin's
Dalvin.
going
Yeah.
there.
Where was it so far? The Jets, New
Yeah,
England, Miami, Buffalo.
yeah,
Uh,
it's I mean, it's everywhere. I don't know.
but who's your number one, a top breakout candidate here?
I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, but now I have to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Um, I actually was searching for this player, and I literally could not believe where his ADP was. Brandon Cooks, ADP 83, wide receiver 43, and I can't figure out why. Last year was just, I mean, it's the Houston Texans. It's that offense, it's that coordinator. I mean, it was like they're just using them in the ways that you don't use Brandon Cooks. I mean, let's just talk about the immediate grouping in front of Brandon Cooks, and you tell me if you would draft any of them. I can tell you you wouldn't because one of them is on your do not draft episode that we did. There's Rashid White, there's Gabe Davis, Kadarius Toney, Mike Evans, and Mike Pittman. And Mike Pittman is 17 spots ADP above Brandon Cooks. I wouldn't take a single one of them over him. I Brandon Cooks is historically the guy that when he gets drafted in drafts, everybody like gasps and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize he's still on the board." And then you can, I mean, I just his play speaks for itself. In last year's play, I don't think is indicative of the player. He was still top 25 in win rates on the routes that he ran, and he's still top 25 in win rates on routes against man coverage. He's still doing his job at a high level. He just didn't get to play with a high level offensive coordinator or quarterback. And I mean, I don't want to talk great or highly about Dak because I don't want anybody to get confused that I think that this guy is worth his weight at all. But he's definitely an upgrade from Davis Mills. I mean, undeniable. Brendan Cooks finished number 83 in target accuracy and number 84 in catchable target rates last year. Um, Yet he managed to finish number 8 in contested catch rate and number 3 in target separation versus man coverage. Does that show that he fell off last year? No. I mean, he didn't fall off at all. I mean, he was begging to leave at one point because he just, I mean, couldn't put up with it. It was garbage. I mean, and if any of you watched a Houston Texans game last year, you felt the same way. It was painful. It was terrible. Um, I just don't let last year fool you. If anything, cash in on last year and be able to steal Brandon Cooks in the draft. What's he done in his career? I'll tell you what he's done in his career. 9 years. Okay. 6 of those years, he's played 15 games or more. 6 of those years, 114 or more targets. 6 of those years, 1,000 yard receiver. 7 of those years, he's a top 22 in fantasy points per game player. At ADP 83, wide receiver 43, Brandon Cooks is my breakout candidate. I think you'll steal him in the draft, and I think you'll be happy you did. If you happen to reach for him a little bit just to get him, go for it. I think that Dak and the passing volume is going to be there. I think CD Lamb playing on the other side of the field is just going to be beneficial for him. You've seen him just be consistent. And I mean, really, at this point in his career, I still don't think he's fallen off. I don't think that he's going to repeat last year by any means. all he's done is play for seems like every team in the NFL, and he's succeeded everywhere he's been. And I don't think that this year is going to be any different. I think Brandon Cooks is going to smash, and I think you're going to be happy that Brandon Cooks fell to you. And yeah, don't be the guy that is wishing you drafted him. That's really all I can say about Brandon Cooks. I wish that he played for any other team in the NFL. Honestly.
I like the pick out of you. I like Brandon Cooks a lot. Just to give you a little perspective as well, he's 1,000 yard receiver for 4 different teams. That's 4 different franchises. He went over 1,000 yards for. So can he do it in Dallas? Yes, he can, especially being that wide receiver too. I always thought Gallup would eventually be that wide receiver too. He's never lived up to that expectation. Still a talented receiver at receiver 3, so that's pretty crazy as well.
That's a ceiling. That's a
And
ceiling.
but Brandon Cooks, maybe age will catch up to him. We don't know. He's 29 right now. Um, but even last year with Houston, as yards per reception were higher than the year before, where he was 1,000 yard receiver. So he's still got the ability. For sure, I think a lot of people are going to sleep on Brandon Cooks, and I think you're going to get him low this season, and
Yeah,
that's a bonus for us out there.
and I touched on him not being used how he was supposed to be used, and what I mean by that is, I mean he's over 10 yards per catch carry or candidate every time, and what they're doing on his A dot was 8 yards. His average depth of target was only 8 yards. Well, he got into a fight with them. He explained, like the issues, whatever. He was away from the team briefly. When he came back, his A dot was almost double. 15 is what it went up to specifically. Like, just, I mean, he's going to get that usage in Dallas. He's going to not have to go through the Davis Mills, I mean, I don't love Mike McCarthy becoming the OC there, but like,
Yeah, that's
I think his talent is better than, the
that's
coaching staff has to offer, but
that's the one thing that does scare me is letting Kellen Moore go. I think Kellen Moore was great OC.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a little pass happy at sometimes, but like we went over previously in LA, that's great for fantasy in the receivers. So, but
Absolutely.
my number one, I think everyone under the sun thinks this guy's going to explode this season. Uh, I got Garrett Wilson. Uh, Wide receiver 9, overall 13. Last year he finished wide receiver 21 with 83 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 4 TDs. Uh, he's the biggest winner of free agency so far in the NFL. Uh, he's had Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson throw him the rock. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is up there in age, but he's still serviceable QB. And I think great things are about to happen with Garrett Wilson. Just to put it into terms here, if you take out the games, I think this is an interesting stat for you, Beanie. If you take out the games Zach Wilson QB'd for Garrett Wilson, he was on pace for a Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson rookie year, which is incredible. Uh, so now having Aaron Rodgers at the helm there, and Aaron Rodgers can still sling the rock, this guy has a potential to be a wide receiver 1 for fantasy. I'm not saying overall, but he could be your lead guy on the team uh, coming in the 2023 season.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's safe to say that the offense he played with at Ohio State was better than what he was dealing with at the Jets last year with Zach Wilson and Flacco, and you know,
Well,
it's just
you, you could double down on the Zach Wilson just from all the controversy of the whole
uh,
moms thing and
nobody's mom's
jeez,
safe.
jeez.
But no, that being said, I mean, like you and I were talking about before we even started, is that their beginning of the year. they're going to need to throw the ball and they're going to need to score points. I mean, they open the season against is it the Bills, and then they play Dallas, and then they
Well,
play Kansas City, they play Philly. Like
well,
they're gonna need him. They're
well,
gonna need him to produce, and I think that he's gonna get a ton of targets. And I think that you having him at number one is not crazy, honestly.
to add on to that, yeah, they're going to need to score the ball. Just that division alone with the Bills, the Dolphins, even the Patriots are getting a little bit sneaky with the defense. And say they do, for some reason, add D Hop like out of the blue. Mac Jones, no, doesn't scare me. But still, that division is pretty tough. I would say, what? AFC wise, would you take them as what? The number behind the AFC North?
Yeah, I don't even know, man. To be honest with you. Um, the two concerning things that I've heard, not that I feel, but that I've heard, is people are concerned that Rodgers plays slow, that there's not going to be, a ton of, like go, go, go in the offense. And people are concerned that their defense is too good for him to be productive in a fantasy output. I disagree with both of those because, like you just said, but between the schedule and the division, they're going to need to score. Like their defense is great. They just extended Quentin, and I think that there's so much talent in the AFC. There's so much firepower. The defense is fantastic, but it's still going to require you know 20 plus a game, and who better than Garrett Wilson to give it to you? Um, Aaron's supported wide receiver ones in the past. I mean, he's fed Devontae Adams for years. Before that is, I mean, Jordy Nelson. Like, he picks a guy and he peppers the guy. And if he trusts you, he'll pepper you some more. I think Garrett Wilson is a freak athlete. I think that he was the best receiver in that draft class. And like we said, they need him. They need him to be everything and more in order to compete through the first half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, if he turns out to be a wide receiver one, he's going what 13th overall, so that's early second round. Maybe he falls a couple spots. You could pair him up with two receivers or a running back receiver to be your wide receiver one. I'm starting out strong. Then I feel like, especially in 12-man leagues, and I'm very
Yeah, yeah.
confident in that.
Yeah, like I said, man, I understand that their schedule's going to be crazy, things are going to be crazy, but if he can give them everything and more, then I think that he's going to smash, and I think the Jets are going to be good. But time will tell.
Time will tell. But that wraps up episode 6. Hopefully, come on back next Friday for episode 7. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or on all social media platforms as well. Even the new threads. I know not a lot of people are on there yet, but we're on there. Would you like to say anything before we wrap it up, Benny?
Yeah, man, just keep in touch. Keep up with us on socials. We're posting fun polls. We're really curious about your guys' opinions. I mean, we'd love to cover any topics that you guys have or questions you have on stuff. We're easy to get a hold of. Reach out. Participate in those polls, and please rate and review us. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us and on everything, man. We're having a good time. Like we keep getting views from NFL players and interacting with really cool fantasy experts out there. It was really cool getting to kind of talk back and forth with Debro from Fantasy Pros. That was really cool. We're early in this. We kind of just started up this year. It was something we decided was going to be fun to do, and so far, I mean, it's been a real good time.
Right.
So thank you guys. Thanks for everything. And yeah, it's been another episode of the Let 'em Know podcast.
Till next time, guys.